Turn off the light, close the door, and don't look back. This is not a movie. This is not a legend. This happened. Today on Deep Terror, I will reveal the darkest and most disturbing true stories that gave birth to the Conjuring Cinematic Universe. 10 movies, 10 infernal cases, all connected by a chilling truth. Demons exist, and some are still among us. Get ready, because I will tell you each case in chronological order, just as they happened in reality. From the first encounter with the inexplicable to the last ritual that tried to seal evil forever. But be careful. Some doors once opened, never close again. The Nun, the beginning of evil, 1952. It all began in 1952, long before the Warrens, long before Annabelle. Before evil even had a name, it already walked among us. The Nun, the movie many thought was just fiction, is actually a warning disguised as fiction. It was the first time the world saw Valak, a mocking demon, a sacrilegious spirit who takes the most unholy form possible. A nun, a symbol of faith corrupted by hell. But what few know is that Valak does exist. In ancient grimoires from the 10th century, Valak was described as a demonic child who rode a two-headed dragon, a seemingly minor creature, but whose intelligence, cunning, and power surpassed all human understanding. However, years later, Lorraine Warren, renowned medium and psychic, revealed something even more disturbing. During a vision, she saw Valak in its true form. It was not a child. It was not a spirit. It was a black hole, a vortex of pure hatred. And from that darkness emerged a nun, a mocking, cursed laugh that tore at my soul. She then knew it wasn't a ghost. It was an insult from hell. The story takes place at the Carta Abbey in Transylvania. And yes, that place exists, even today, covered by fog and silence. Locals say no one should approach after nightfall. They say the walls still whisper, that chants in forgotten languages can be heard, and that someone or something slowly descends the stone stairs every midnight. An old woman from the village once said, "My grandmother was a novice at the abbey. She said something slept in the basements, something the ancient monks tried to contain. But evil always finds a way out. And when it did, hell opened its eyes." The story of Valak is no fantasy. It is just the first step of a dark path that has not yet ended, because evil doesn't need a door. It just needs a crack. Annabelle, the birth of the curse, 1955. Before the screams, before the murders, before the doors closing on their own, there was a desperate plea. Samuel Mullins, a humble doll maker, lived with his wife and daughter in a house isolated from the world. A devoted family, peaceful, until tragedy struck without mercy. His little daughter, Annabelle, was hit by a car right in front of their house. Life slipped from his arms as he screamed her name. And when the pain became unbearable, he begged the heavens. But the one who answered came from the other side. A presence manifested. They offered to give his daughter back, but the price was unclear, and what returned was not Annabelle. Blinded by grief, the couple allowed that presence to enter a handmade porcelain doll, an exact replica of their deceased daughter. But soon, Shadows began to move. Doors creaked with whispers, and the doll stared fixedly, even when no one was there. They tried to stop it. They locked the doll in a sealed room, with Bible pages pasted in every corner, and blessed crosses hung on the walls. But evil does not die. It only waits. The story didn't end there. Years later, Annabelle reappeared. And the most terrifying thing is that it wasn't just fiction. In real life, Annabelle existed. She was not made of porcelain, but of cloth. An apparently harmless doll from the Raggedy Ann brand. But inside her lived a hungry entity. Today she is locked in the Warren's Occult Museum, inside a glass case sealed with prayers. A sign warns, "Do not open under any circumstances." But some did not heed the warning. A young man who mockingly tapped the glass with his finger died the same night in a motorcycle crash against a tree. Others have suffered endless nightmares and feel her breath at night, even decades after contact. Lorraine Warren once said, "Annabelle does not move, but she provokes, and what she provokes is the destruction of the soul." Annabelle is not just a cursed doll. She is a portal, an invitation for hell to touch earth. And worst of all, she was never alone. The Nun 2, 1956, France. For years after the First Awakening, the demon Valak has not disappeared. It has changed its scene. Now it inhabits a French school, old and isolated, where innocence should be protected. But within those cold, gray walls, darkness grows. Paranormal events multiply. The walls seem to vibrate with invisible whispers. Mirrors reflect faces that do not belong to this world. And slowly, children begin to disappear without a trace. The epicenter of this evil is a sacred relic, the eyes of Saint Lucia, a real symbol of protection that, in Valak's hands, becomes its most dangerous obsession. This story takes inspiration from real events. The mass hysteria of possessions in French convents between the 15th and 17th centuries, where thousands of innocent souls are believed to have fallen victim to invisible terrors. In this school, evil not only lurks, but feeds on fear, broken faith, and despair. And as night falls, the demon remembers that the true battle is not against the light, but against those who dare to believe in it. The terror continues, and this time, the price may be even higher. Annabelle, 1967, California. A young couple receives a seemingly innocent gift, an old doll, simple and fragile in appearance. But that doll soon becomes something much darker. What they didn't know was that this doll would be the perfect channel for a demonic presence, a malignant entity that feeds on fear, despair, and pain. Shortly after, a satanic cult bursts into their home, performing forbidden rituals and leaving a permanent shadow over the couple. What began as a simple horror story became a real nightmare. The events that inspired this story happened in 1970, and the original doll, known as Annabelle, was taken into custody by Ed and Lorraine Warren. Today, it remains locked in their museum, protected by prayers and seals. A reminder that some objects not only hold memories, but also the evil that inhabits them. The Conjuring, the Perron Family, 1971. A farmhouse away from the world. silent fields, and a house hiding more than history. The Perron family arrived, seeking a new beginning. 5 daughters, 2 parents, and the hope for a peaceful life. But from day one, the house began to awaken, doors closing by themselves. Knocks at dawn, ownerless whispers, and a presence watching. The girls said they saw a woman in their room. They felt her breath. They heard her name, Bathsheba, a woman who, according to old records, lived on the property in the 19th century, accused of witchcraft, of offering her own son as a sacrifice to Satan. She was never convicted, but rumors turned her into a legend. Ed and Lorraine Warren were called, and upon crossing the threshold, Lorraine felt it. I had never encountered so much evil gathered in one place, she said. During a spirit session, horror broke loose. Caroline Perron, the mother, was possessed. She levitated in front of her daughters. An invisible force threw her against the wall like a rag doll. The Warrens intervened. They performed a ritual, but it was not an exorcism because the church did not authorize it. The family fled, leaving everything behind, but the house still stands in Harrisville, Rhode Island, and those who have visited claim that the evil never left. Flickering lights, objects moving on their own, shadows walking the halls. You can visit it, but beware. Some enter out of curiosity and leave with something that does not belong to them. Annabelle Comes Home Again, 1972, USA. Years after the horror, the doll Annabelle was finally locked in a blessed glass case inside the Warrens' hidden museum, a place where the world's most dangerous paranormal objects are kept. But security was not enough. A human error, an accidental opening, or an imperceptible negligence broke the sacred seal protecting the case. And with it, dark forces were unleashed. Not only did the doll become the focus of evil again, but the entire house began to be haunted by malevolent spirits, entities that seemed to feed on the fear and vulnerability of its inhabitants. The Warrens' daughter, Judy, and her friends were placed in grave danger. Invisible attacks, whispers in the dark, and inexplicable apparitions marked their days and nights. A little-known fact outside the movies: Lorraine Warren confessed that the doll not only attracted demonic presences, but also seemed capable of influencing the behavior of those around her, causing paranoia, extreme anxiety, and divisions within families and close groups. The Warrens' museum remains real to this day, guarded by rituals and prayers, and every object inside holds stories as terrifying as Annabelle's, many never publicly revealed. Evil does not only dwell in the doll, it lives where fear finds refuge. The Conjuring 2, The Enfield Poltergeist, 1977. England, 1977. A normal neighborhood, a humble family, in a darkness no one could explain. The Hodgsons lived a normal life until a voice began to speak from nowhere. It was not human. It did not come from the radio. It came from the throat of Janet, an 11-year-old girl. A deep, dry voice. A man named Bill. He said he had died in that house. He said he could not leave. He said the house was his. But it was not just a voice. Doors slammed shut violently. Objects flew through the air. Chairs dragged themselves alone. And Janet levitated in front of witnesses. Everything was documented. Recordings, Photographs, journalists, police, everyone saw it. And yet, doubts began to grow. A hoax? Child's imagination? Mass hysteria? But when the Warrens were called, they discovered something more. Something much darker. Valak had returned, hidden, watching, using Bill as a puppet, a distraction, to mask its true presence. Lorraine saw it, the nun, dressed in black, still at the foot of the stairs, her eyes empty, her mouth drawing a smile that did not belong to this world. And at that moment, she knew the truth. It was not a human spirit. It was a demon in disguise, an entity that fed on fear, that slipped through the cracks of the mind and stayed to live. The Enfield case was never closed. Some call it a fraud, others a warning, but everyone agrees on one thing. Janet was never the same again. And since then, every time someone whispers Valak, someone else listens and smiles. The Conjuring 3, The Demon Trial, 1981. For the first time in United States history, a court heard a phrase that chilled everyone present. The devil made me do it. Orange Cheyenne Johnson, a seemingly calm young man, had brutally murdered his landlord. He did not flee. He did not deny what happened. But his explanation defied all logic. He said it wasn't him, that something inside him took control. And it all began much earlier with another exorcism. David Glatzel, the younger brother of his fiancée, had been possessed by an uncontrollable force, tormented by visions, attacked in his bed by invisible hands. His screams filled the house every night. Ed and Lorraine Warren were called. During the exorcism, the violence was such that Ed Warren suffered a heart attack in the middle of the ritual. But the worst had not yet happened. Amid screams and struggles, Arn did something unthinkable. Leave him. Take me instead. And the demon accepted. Days later, Arn began acting strange. He stared at nothing. His eyes darkened at times. He said he heard voices, until one day he lost control and killed. During the trial, his legal defense pleaded demonic possession, a desperate attempt to explain the unexplainable. The judge rejected it. The press was divided. Public opinion burned. But Lorraine saw more. In one of her visions, while recovering from the exorcism, she discovered that demon was not acting alone. It was part of a bigger plan, a chain of curses, a cult, an organized force that not only sought to possess bodies, but to open a final door between this world and the other. Even today, the full details of the case are shrouded in mystery. Missing files, witnesses who refuse to talk, and strange phenomena near those who investigate too deeply. Because this was not just a crime, it was a warning. And according to Lorraine, the plan is not finished. It's just waiting for its next host. The Conjuring, The Last Rites, 1986, Pennsylvania. After years in the shadows, after nearly losing his life to a heart attack, Ed Warren returns. But this time, the evil they face is different, darker, more relentless. The Smurl family lives a nightmare without end, trapped in a house that seems alive, a place where death whispers and despair walks every corner. Doors slam violently, as if someone or something wants to trap them inside. Lights flicker in the dark, Shadows stretch and twist without shape or name. A putrid stench envelopes everything, like the breath of hell itself. And knocks, brutal knocks that shake the walls, hurt the flesh, and shake the soul. The Warrens arrived with faith, but soon understood it was not enough. Recordings captured voices that should not exist, laments that tore reality apart. The family's testimonies were screams drowned by terror, and the exorcisms failed again and again, because this entity did not come just to possess bodies. It came to destroy lives, to devour souls. In the middle of the chaos, Judy, the Warrens' daughter, began to feel a call. A dark gift awakened inside her. Inherited psychic abilities, but not without a price. Because in the invisible world, what fights darkness can also fall into it. Evil seemed invincible, a presence as old as fear itself, a shadow that refuses to die. And while the clock strikes midnight, the question hangs in the air. How far are you willing to go to stop what should never have awakened? Because in that house, darkness does not just lurk, it feeds. These are the 10 stories that have inspired the Conjuring Universe. True stories that have crossed time and still whisper in the dark. If you want a special video about all the monsters and ghosts of this universe, leave me a like and comment. I want more terror. But remember, some horrors never sleep. I'm Luis, and this was Deep Terror. See you in the next darkness.